How's it going, guys? So let's look at the markets and see what's going on. So sound should be good. Let me know if you guys have any trouble hearing me. I'm going to open a Bookmap and we'll get started while we wait for a few people to join. Usually I do go live 4 hours later, but I wanted to go live today and I had other things to do. So I'm just making sure I still honor, the schedule that I have, at least the days that we go live. So with that being said, let me get going on TikTok and then we'll get started on here as more people join in. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. Let me get set up with this on TikTok. So let's go over to Bitcoin. Let's get Bookmap going. I think it's already open. Let me just make sure it's still opening up. And let's see what Bitcoin is looking like. I think we've had a little dip since we last looked. So starting at Bookmap, right now you have a lot of liquidity down here at 16,400. Right now you're at 16,600, so really not too much lower. But look, at 15,000 you still have a ton of liquidity down here, suggesting you probably do go down to that $15,000 area. And you also have some liquidity down here. But 15,000 looks like to be the next major area of liquidity. And you don't really have anything to the upside except around, 16.5. You have a little, but you have more down here. It's really that simple. $15,000 that's where Bookmap is suggesting that Bitcoin goes in the coming hours and days, and it's really that simple. So I'll keep that open for right now. We can look at the end of the stream to see how that's looking, but I don't think that's going to change too much. So let's go over to the daily chart on Bitcoin, and again, you keep making lower lows. Now I will say this, the RSI on the daily stock RSI indicator is completely oversold, trying to get that small move to the upside, but it just hasn't done anything crazy yet. Overall, though, it does look okay on the daily chart, but because you're making a lower low, obviously the macro trend is still right now down, and until you get above, I've said this for at least a week now, until you get above 17.5, you can still expect further downside action long term. I've said that for at least a week now, and it's just that simple. You have a resistance at 17.5. If you can't get above it, then you can keep looking for downside. And really, yes, you have liquidity. Going back to Bookmap, you have a lot of liquidity here at 15,000. But as far as support goes for Bitcoin on the weekly time frame, there's no support until that 12,500 area, where on the bull run, when you got started, you had resistance there multiple times. So one time on June 24th of 2019, and then a few months later on the 3rd of August in 2020. So I guess about a year later, but so really, 12,500 is huge support because there was huge resistance two different times. So 12,500, if you don't give us 17.5, then next support on the weekly time frame, from what I can see, would be 12,500. Because after 12.5, you went parabolic to the upside until you got some resistance, and then you held support around the $29,000 area. So I mean, really, that is what I'm looking for, is 12.5 if you don't get above 17.5. So I hate to be bearish, but honestly, if we go to 12.5, I think a lot of people, including myself, would be very excited to be buying Bitcoin at those prices, especially considering alts would be crushed and Ethereum would be probably around $400. I mean, I would not complain about getting those prices again before we do start the next leg up. I do think we're in the accumulation phases of this bear market, so for that reason, I do like that, but that's kind of what we're looking at. You have to give up 17.5 if you want to be bullish. Otherwise, bears are just going to probably continue to bleed out to the downside until we hit those macro levels of support. And I think if you don't give up 17.5, I don't even think 12.5 would be the bottom, because I know that 88% correction from 85% correction from the all-time high of 65K would be around 9,800. So I do think that would probably be next if you don't give up 17.5. So that's kind of it for Bitcoin. I'm bearish right now. I guess if we looked at smaller time frames, I could be bullish maybe. But overall, macro time frame, I'm not bullish until you get above 17.5. The 4-hour chart did make a higher low. So the 4-hour chart to me is looking bullish, but not by much. So let me just draw this really quick. I do believe we're probably in some sort of, I would say, symmetrical triangle. Let me zoom out so you guys can see that. That's definitely a symmetrical triangle. So then it's a symmetrical triangle is break to the upside 50% of the time, and the break to the downside 50% of the time. The move to the, well, let's just look. The move to the upside, if Bitcoin wanted to turn bullish again, you're looking at around, let me just move this down a little bit. You're looking at around a $19,300 Bitcoin. And guys, if you break to the downside of this symmetrical triangle, you're looking at almost a $14,000 Bitcoin. And that is kind of what we're looking for right now, 50-50, so be careful. With the 4-hour chart being low, it is more likely to break to the upside, but just anything can happen. Low liquidity weekend, low liquidity Saturday. I just be careful. But those are the measures moves. If you break to the downside, you're looking at 14,000. If you break to the upside, you would be looking at 19,300. So that's kind of what we got here. I'm going to leave this here, and we can come back and look on Tuesday when we go live again to see if anything crazy happened in that time. But that's what I'm looking at. Downside target is 14,000 basically, and the upside target is $19,334. That's Bitcoin wrapped up for you in a nutshell. If this happens, then that will happen, and that is my my analysis on Bitcoin. 4-hour chart is suggesting we get move to the upside. How's a 1-hour chart looking? 1-hour chart. Let me see. 1-hour chart, though, is bearish. 1-hour chart is bearish. 1-hour chart is suggesting you roll over to the downside, maybe come to the bottom of this pattern, and then we'll see what happens if you get the bounce or break through it. 1-hour chart is bearish, though, so you probably are going to come back to the bottom of this pattern at least around 16.6, which is only about $100 lower, not even. So we'll see what happens. It's getting very tight. I would expect a breakout here in the next, probably by Tuesday of next week. Probably by the time we go live again next week, well, if not sooner, we'll have a breakout to the upside or downside, and a big one at that. So that is kind of what I'm looking at for Bitcoin right now. And yeah, if you guys have any coins you would like me to look at, let me know and I'll look at them. But I just want to come on here and look at Bitcoin quickly. Another coin I wanted to look at was Trump coin. Bitcoin whales are preparing to dump. I would not be surprised. Symmetrical triangle, you mean bear flag. Let me go back to Bitcoin. Are you looking at the 4-hour chart or this one I'm looking at? What are you? Yeah, that actually is a bear flag, I suppose, because you got the massive dump, and if you reverse this, when you get a massive pump and then flag out, that would be. So, yeah, but it's also a symmetrical triangle, but I see what you're talking about now. That is actually definitely a bear flag, because if this was reversed, right, if you reverse this chart, that'd be a bull flag. So, yes, you are correct in that matter. I guess, yeah, you're very correct about that. Yeah. But like I said, it's also a symmetrical triangle. It's both, I would say. It can be multiple things. But yeah, now that you mentioned that does look a lot more bearish than bullish. So we'll see what happens. 4-hour chart is probably going to get the bounce before you do dump if that is going to happen. But 14,000 is probably the next stop. You have a lot of liquidity at 15,000, like I just talked about, right? You have 15,000, and if we go to the $14,000 target, yeah, you have a lot. Oh, I didn't even zoom out far enough. You have a lot of liquidity down here at $12,000. So I would not be surprised at all if Bitcoin eventually in the next few months does go below 12,000, like 10,000, like I just said. So I'm macro long-term bearish, but I'm very bullish on Bitcoin, like years out. Months out, I'm bearish, so that's kind of where we're at. I did think the low is in. I'm going to be honest. I was wrong. Hey, I've been wrong before, but DCA, and just DCA if you believe in crypto long-term. So that is what I'm looking at right now. Delete that. Guys, we are live on YouTube, so if you guys want to look at the screen, or I guess you can do that on TikTok too, but we are live on YouTube as well. If you missed any of it, you can go back and rewatch it at least. So that is kind of what we're doing. By the way, we are sponsored by the FAMX exchange, so if you guys are looking for a new exchange to use, check that out. Link is in the description and bio, my bio on TikTok. I think I still need to put it in my YouTube live videos, but otherwise it's in my regular YouTube videos, just where I don't go live. So, Trump coin was the other one I wanted to talk about. So this had a huge move to the upside yesterday because Elon Musk tweeted, do you think Trump should be reinstated as president of the United States? Now, I'm not going to give my opinion on that, but I don't think it's, but it is what it is. So it pumped up almost 250% from the low to the high, and now it's consolidating back down. Probably it's going to keep bleeding out until there's more bullish news. This coin is very volatile. When there's huge news, it pumps up like crazy, and then it dumps like crazy again. So it's it's a pump and dump coin, really, is what it is. But that's what happened. It's still up 75%, and yesterday the low was like 5, and then it went up to 22, and now it's at 8.8 right now. So it's still a coin I'm watching, and I still support that coin. But other than that, there's nothing crazy to talk about. Bitcoin will, okay, I guess I missed a lot of chat. Appreciate the follows, guys. Before doing NDTA, shouldn't you at least forklift? What? Bitcoin will plummet soon, going down. Short crypto until mid-December. Hey, you do whatever you feel is like is going to happen. None of what I say is financial advice, but I don't think shorting it would be a bad idea. So if you guys have any requests for other coins, let me know and I'll look at them. Otherwise, that's kind of my analysis on Bitcoin and on the markets. And with that being said, we looked at Bitcoin, we looked at Jasmy, and some other coins, at least Trump coin. I'm going to end Bookmap because we kind of saw where the liquidity is at Bitcoin, and it takes a lot of data to leave that running. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a screenshot of this, save chart image, and then we can see, like, you know, maybe Tuesday or something, how this played out. But that's kind of where we stand. That's kind of what I'm going to be doing. Save as. Yeah, okay, save it. All right, so then we can go back and look at that and see how this played out. If we dumped to the downside, if we hit the target, or if we pumped to the upside, if we hit the target. It'd be more interesting to see if we pumped to the upside and hit the target because we are in a bear market, so it'd be harder for that to happen. But we'll see what happens in that regard. If you guys have any other requests, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to end the stream momentarily. So going back over to Bitcoin, downside move will be 14,000, and the upside move is 19,300. The 4-hour chart, like I said, is bullish right now. 1-hour chart is bearish, and the daily chart is bullish because you made a lower low, so that's bearish. But as far as getting a bounce, you would expect a bounce here at least of some sort before you roll over again, and you're nowhere near being overbought. So that is suggesting the daily chart has room to go, which means there's a good chance this does play out to the upside. We'll see what happens, but you are in a bear flag and symmetrical triangle right now, so just be careful of that. With that being said, guys, I'm going to end this live stream if there's no other requests, and I will be back live. We're live every Friday at 8 p.m. every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Time, and Saturdays usually at 3 p.m. Central, but today I did go live earlier, so that might be part of the reason there's not a huge turnout, but that's okay. They can always rewatch it on YouTube. And with that being said, I'm going to see you guys next week. Have a great weekend, guys, and until then, trade safe.